Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and you've seen us talking about folders in this video series, but now it's time to take a look at the best fixed blade knife from every brand, or at least 15 of our favorites. Let's check them out. Alright, so the criteria for this list is not quite set in stone, and they're not necessarily my personal favorites from each brand either, but we tried to look at what makes the particular brand what they are, what's kind of the best representation of what they do, and in some cases even, just the amount of iconicness that a given knife has influenced the decision. But a lot of cool stuff here to take a look at, and to avoid any kind of favoritism, we're just going to go through alphabetically, and let me know what you think of the picks, and let me know what your favorites are for these given brands as well. And we're going to start with the Bs, Becker Knife and Tool. Even though this is made by Ka-Bar, we're counting this as a separate brand from Ka-Bar, since Becker has been, or the Becker knives have been made by a number of different companies over the years. And the reason I gave it to this over something like the BK9, which I did almost give it to, is Ethan Becker himself will tell you that this is the best thing he's ever designed. And it's easy to see why, because this knife is just about a perfect all-around belt knife for pretty much anything you're going to want to do outdoors. Blade length is in that kind of just right zone between like 4 and 4.5 inches. We're about 4 3/8 on this particular guy, with a do-everything blade shape. Nice drop point with a full flat grind. We've got 1095 CV carbon steel here for a lot of toughness, and you get that powder coating on there to help protect against corrosion a little bit. It's a great blade shape, as I mentioned, but pretty much the star of any Becker knife is the handle comfort. We've got a bolt-on injection molded scale here, black, but there's also a coyote brown included in the package with these. But you just take a look at the contours provided here. It's kind of one of the advantages of an injection molded handle for a budget price knife, because at the end of the day, this is a $90 knife that's made in the USA. Kind of a nice price point to quality ratio that you get here. And that comfort it gives you is rock solid. Fills the hand quite nicely, and unless you've got really big hands, this should work for pretty much anyone. As part of the sheath on this guy, in order to kind of keep the price where it is, you've just got a simple nylon sheath, but it's really well thought out. You've got dual retention straps here, little pouch on the front for some extra goodies that you want to keep with the knife, MOLLE compatibility on the back, as well as your standard belt loop. All right, next up of the Bs is Benchmade. And I've got to give it, honestly, to the Steep Country, which I was kind of surprised by, but this is the knife I kept coming back to for the choice here. Reason being, it's another really good synthesis of American-made construction and materials for a price point. We're coming in at just over 110 bucks right now. But also, Benchmade is more known as a folder company, of course, rather than a fixed blade maker. And their bug-out knife, extremely popular these days, probably their best seller. And this, in a way, you can kind of think of this as the fixed blade bug out. It is a nice size. We're coming in about a 3.5 inch blade. Similarly to that bug out, you've got a nice simple drop point shape. We've got a full flat grind on this guy, fairly thin steel as well. So this is a phenomenal slicing knife. And of course, with a shape like this as well, a good hunting profile as well, which is what they were kind of intending it to be. But I think this would also be great for EDC, be great for day hikers and campers who don't want to weigh down your carry, because even with the sheath, which is a fairly simple affair, just standard style of Kydex-like bolter on here, with that, it's only just over 4 ounces. Granted, they don't include a belt attachment with it, which is going to add a little bit, but this is a lot of capability for that kind of weight. As far as the handles themselves, got a nice grippy material there. A little bit of extra texture both on the sides and on the top with that those crenellations there. Adds a little bit of flair. I kind of think they're a little unnecessary for me personally, but they do work quite well. It's a fairly slim handle, not really going to be a bushcrafter's delight, but great for hunting and precise utility. You've got a finger guard, thumb scallops for pinch grips, nice compact size, just an all-around solid working knife. All right, next we're going to come to Boker, and this was honestly one of the harder ones for me to narrow down because they make a ton of great knives, both in their German facilities as well as their South American and their overseas facilities too. A lot of good stuff, but honestly, we kept coming back to the Applegate-Fairbairn Dagger. There's definitely better values in the Boker lineup. There's stuff with better materials, but it just kept coming back to this. There's something about just the iconic power of this knife that earned its spot on the list. Base version of the knife, which you see here, comes in about 210 bucks. You've got that iconic 6-inch blade, 440C steel in this case, and double beveled and double edged sharpened as well. You also get that nice symmetrical brass guard, and in this case, a Delrin handle with a bolted construction here. One of the cool things about this is the fact that it is a stick tang as opposed to a full tang. I do appreciate the strength of a full tang, but when you're able to do a stick tang like this, it's still a good chunk of metal under there, and you get a supremely comfortable handle because there's no kind of seam or hot spot where that tang would be. The sheath itself is Kydex, and of course the advantage of being a symmetrical knife is you can actually put that in the sheath either way too. You don't have to worry about orientation. But beyond just kind of the spec sheet, which I've kind of listed off to you, this knife has one of those kind of intangible qualities that really makes you feel confident when wielding it, and it really does make you feel like this is a knife that will last a lifetime. And the last of the Bs, we come to buck knives, and on the folder side, the Buck 110 is like the buck knife, but on the fixed blade side, the buck knife is the 119 Special. And the best version of this has been just released this year, 2021, the 119 Special Pro, which sees some nice upgrades in materials. We're made in USA, price is about $190, and for that, you're getting an S35 VN blade, about 6 inches long. And you can see in this knife the same thing you're gonna see later in the Mark II Fighter from K-Bar. You kind of see the influence of kind of the older school hunting knives that were out there before World War II that kind of influenced the design and shape of this particular knife. Got an asymmetrical crossguard here, gives you a little bit more ability to kind of put your thumb out in front of it. But the blade itself looks great. The steel is a nice upgrade as well. And the handle gets some nice upgrades too. Rather than the black phenolic that we get on the base models, we've got a green canvas micarta here. And like that Boker, no full exposed tang to kind of get in the way. You've just got nice, comfortable, almost seamless construction. The 119 also has kind of one of my favorite leather sheath designs out there. Most retention straps tend to loop in from the front side, looping over the guard. Problem is that can sometimes get in the way when you go to resheath the knife. But on this guy, you've actually got that retention strap wraps around the front of the handle. Works really great. It's going to avoid getting pulled or snagged as you walk through stuff. And then when you're ready to open it, just pull it open, and it's going to get out of the way as you draw and stay out of the way when you go to put it back. Very, very nice and well thought out design. All right, from the Bs, it's a short jump to the Cs with cold steel. And for them, I've got to give it to the SRK series of fixed blades. And there's a variety of reasons for that. First off, it's a great design. You've also got a broad range of price points on this, ranging from about 40 to about 150 these days with some better materials. But even more than that, this fixed blade represents kind of the best of everything that cold steel does. You've got certainly the tactical acumen in this particular design. This is the $42 base model with a 6-inch blade. Again, kind of influenced by some of the old fighting knives out there. But you've got solid SK5 steel and that shape that's going to work well for the combat stuff as well as outdoor stuff and heavier utility jobs. You've also got an overmolded handle here with sort of a grippy rubberized material, something they do on a lot of their fixed blades out there. Works really well, gives you a lot of extra grip, and of course it's going to feel real nice if you're doing any sort of thing that's going to put some shock onto this blade as well. You've also got cold steel's pretty standard execution of sheath. It's a Securex material, clicks in nicely, but you've also got that extra retention loop here on the back, as well as a hole pattern that's going to work with a lot of aftermarket attachment options if you prefer it over the standard loop that you get with the SRK. But whether you need a tactical fighting knife or a big survival knife or any kind of smaller outdoor knife, since there is a smaller compact version, this series definitely has all the bases covered. Next up is Condor, and honestly, I probably could have picked one of the models with their hardwood scales because that's really what they're known for more than anything else. But at the end of the day, I had to give it to the Terrasaur because this is kind of like the easiest recommendation in their lineup right now. It comes in about 42 bucks. You've got a full tang construction with an overmolded handle, 1095 steel, Again, kind of that just right size. We're just over 4 inches here, and a nice sharp Scandi grind on this. You know, they took a little bit of flack when these first came out. They thought they were maybe treading on Mora's territory a little bit, but I gotta say, for the folks who have been looking for a full tang Mora at kind of that Mora-like price point, this knife delivers what Mora themselves have not been able to do yet. I will say that Mora's fit and finish is still a bit better than Condor's these days, but this is a knife that, again, is one of those knives that just works. Great size, great handle shape. It's nice and neutral, so a variety of different hand shapes will work with this, no problem. Got that exposed tang at the back for a little bit of scraping or striking with it if you need to. You've even got an excellent and sturdy color-matched sheath, which matches the handle color. There are a few different options right now. Nice drain hole at the bottom, ambidextrous, like I said, or did I say? Can't remember, but it is ambidextrous. You got a nice leather loop there on the side. All right, next up is ESEE, who, more than anything else, does a great blend of the survival and tactical knives, and I've got to give this one to their 6 model. This particular one coming in about $140. We actually follow a fairly similar formula here to the Becker knives and to the Tops knives we're going to see in a little bit, but in this case we've got a 1095 carbon steel blade, again, about 6 inches long, full flat grind with that powder coating for the corrosion protection, and bolt-on handle scales here at the back. In this case, we do see a bit of an upgrade in materials from something like the Beckers. We've got a linen micarta with even some nice red liners on this one as well. They are a little bit flat though. However, they have recently come out with some 3D contoured versions, which are even more comfortable and still a very good bargain. Sheaths here, hard plastic with some nice click-in retention. It does come with a clip plate to attach to your belt, but if you prefer something a little more secure, again, a nice set of tech locks, your large size will work very well. But this type of knife is built to take a beating. There are more indestructible knives in their lineup, but I think this one really toes the line, or perfectly kind of walks that line between being something that is nigh indestructible while still being something you're going to have a pleasant time slicing with. All right, next up, we're coming to the Fs with the F1 from Fallkniven, which is a more compact knife, but this is, the Swedish military issues this as the pilot's survival knife for their air crews out there, and a nice, solid, compact design here. This is a knife that I actually have had a lot of experience with and has had a lot of influence on me and what I like in a slightly more compact belt knife. Blade length, right about 4 inches, do everything drop point shape. In this case though, we've got a nice convex grind as opposed to some of the flats or hollows that we've seen so far. Gives you maybe a little bit more strength in some of those rough and tumble scenarios. One of the other things they do for toughness here is they actually give you a laminated blade, the core of which is VG10, so you've got some pretty good edge retention, and on the outer layers it's a slightly tougher stainless steel, so you have a little bit more strength and rigidity on a nice, fairly thick blade, because this is, after all, a survival knife. You can get it in a satin finish or the black coated, and there's some upgraded versions with some higher end steels available as well. Moving back to the handles, we've got an overmolded tang in this case also, with a bit of a protruding tang there at the back. But they've also introduced a completely full tang version with bolt-on scales just last year, I believe, so you've got another option there as well. Sheath, there are a few options out there, including leather, but the standard one is just, again, a nice, simple click-in design with a retention strap here on the front. But the best thing about the Fallkniven F1 to me is the size. It's kind of a right-sized knife that you're never gonna feel overburdened with. You're always gonna be able to carry it with you without feeling like you're taking too much. And then when you need it, it's got just enough strength and capability there to get you through to the other side. All right, next up is a tactical knife, the Gerber StrongArm. One of their more affordable USA-made products right now. It comes in about $70. Now the materials aren't exactly high-end, but then again, the price is not a high-end price either. We've got 420 HC, classic drop point shape here, kind of a cross between, you know, your standard drop point hunter and something like that Mark II fighter that we're just about ready to talk about. And on the handles, you've got overmolded construction, protruding tang again at the back. It comes into a bit of an apex for striking in this case. I don't know, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit with some of these picks, but I really do think that this is the best fixed blade that Gerber makes because it's strong, really has been proven tough on countless reviews out there. It's a good, solid design, made in the USA, feels really good. It's got some good crossover potential too, beyond just the tactical uses. You can use this as a hunting knife or as a survival knife if you wish. All right, I keep mentioning that K-bar knife, and we're finally there. Reason that I do keep doing that is this knife, which is the USMC fighting knife in K-bar's parlance, but was originally known, I believe, as the Mark II fighter back in World War II. Probably the most recognizable combat knife in the world, in history, which consequently makes it one of the most recognizable and iconic fixed blades, period. It is just one of those enduring things that everybody knows because it's time proven and it's really fantastic, and it's still a pretty good bargain today. $88 for a USA made knife. Materials, we've got 1095 CV, just like that Becker, because K-bar makes that as well, and a smooth black coating for corrosion resistance. And as far as I have been led to understand over the years, the genesis of this knife was really folks asking for a larger version of the hunting knives that were prevalent back in the day when this first came out. So you see a similar blade shape, nice hollow grind with the clip point there, gives you a good skinning profile and piercing profile. They just needed it to be long enough for combat reasons, which is why you've got a 7-inch blade here. We've got a simple stamped crossguard here, gives you a little bit of protection, and a nice stacked leather washer handle that feels really good. You got a couple of grooves for some extra grip and a nice oval type of cross section for a really good indexed feel in the hand. Butt cap on the back as well, you can certainly use that for a little bit of hammering. Sheath on this guy is just a classic old school leather sheath with retention straps here on the top, but there are some other options out there. There's craton handled versions of these. There's some different sheath options as well, because with a design like this that's been as enduring over the years, you better believe there's a lot of choices out there for just about anyone who's looking for one. All right, next up we come to LionSteel with their T5 series, which starts a little bit over 150 bucks, which I gotta say is a pretty good bargain for this particular knife. Because LionSteel, of course, is probably best known or most famously known for their integral frame locks out there, where the titanium handles are made out of a single piece, titanium or aluminum actually. You actually see a little bit of that brand DNA in these handles. We've got green micarta, but it is a single piece of green micarta. This is not two slabs fitted to either side of a full tang. We still have the full tang, but there's essentially been a channel milled out of this massive block of micarta that you could slide that tang into and then bolt into place. As a result, really nice feel here on the front end of the handles with no seam whatsoever and a pretty excellent shape, very ergonomically designed. Probably, I like this even more than the Becker handles we looked at first, who of course is famous for the handle comfort. The other thing I really like about this handle is the execution of the finger guard right here. It's not skinny and narrow. You've got a nice wide contact patch here, which is gonna make it very comfortable in use. Blade shape here has some really good crossover going on between the survival types of things, heavier duty outdoor, and some of the tactical needs. Simple drop point, executed very well from Nylock steel, coming in about 5 inches long. Perhaps even more impressive at this price than the quality of the knife that you get, which is high quality, is the high quality of the sheaths as well. Nice, finely fitted leather. You can see some really excellent finishing here around the edges. Nice retention strap here at the front. And then check out the back. You've even got some MOLLE compatibility built in. And really, I think the big part of the story of the LionSteel fixed blades, which you see on that sheath, on this knife itself right here, is you get a lot for the money, and not enough people, I think, realize exactly how much quality you're gonna be able to get for your dollars. So in that respect, these are really high value knives, but when we're talking the best value for your money when it comes to a fixed blade knife, look no further than Mora, or if we're really flexing our pronunciation, Morakniv. Moras really do hold the crown in this segment, and when considering you can get a knife like this, their Companion, which is kind of the modern version of their everyman's knife, they come in about $17, but they perform like a much more expensive knife. The fit and finish on them is excellent, razor sharp out of the box or package just about every single time, and proven highly durable as well. You've got standard versions with sort of a 2mm thick blade, and you can get that in either a 12C27 stainless, which is nice and tough for a stainless, or you can get it in a carbon steel if you prefer something more traditional. You've got a partial stick tang with a rubber overmold in this case, and green, kind of a toxic or neon green on this one, but a bunch of different colors can be had on this guy as well. So you can give one to like every kid in the troop and they're gonna have their own color. Maybe not every kid, but you get my point. You'll be able to tell the difference, and if you have some of these dedicated to specific uses, you're gonna be able to tell them quickly at a glance as well. Over top of that partial stick tang, you've got these nice comfortable handles as well. They've got a bit of grip and a really nicely considered feel and shape in the hand. Sheaths are nice and simple. Again, here also we see a nice color matched design. Not ambidextrous like the Condor we looked at earlier, but essentially just as tough. Single piece with a clip here at the back, drain hole, very solid. Now if you want something a little bit more than this in terms of kind of the durability, rather than jumping up to some of the more expensive or full tang models, you can always go with the HD version of the Companion. You get a little bit of a girthier handle, slightly thicker blade as well. But even without going to that level, these Companions are absolutely worth every penny. All right, next up we come to SOG or SOG, and the easy answer certainly would have been to pick one of their seal buoy knives. But while nothing they make so far can really approach the iconic status of those knives, I do think they're making things that are just plain better. And that thing right there, especially that I like, is the SOG Pillar. USA made, comes in about 190 bucks. Blade here is 5 inches long, S35 VN premium steel with a nice stonewash finish, so you definitely get a nice bump up from their seal buoys. However, you still do see a bit of that DNA in the spine treatment here. Those seal buoys were pretty much directly influenced or directly inspired by the old MACV SOG buoys from Vietnam, the Vietnam era I should say, and you see a little bit of that here with these nice swooping lines on the pillar. Moving back to the handles, we've got black G10 bolted on, nice feel in the hand, and again, a really nice cross section between kind of the hunting and outdoor world and the survival and tactical world. Now the sheath on the pillar is made from Kydex, but it definitely has a little bit more personality than a lot of Kydex sheaths out there due to the kind of cutout pattern. Got several grommets and holes, so you've got a lot of lashing options, and it does come with a Tech-Lock style attachment in the box, so you've got a variety of different options, whether horizontal, cross draw, that type of thing, or inverted, or just a standard carry. Nice little detail here on the top is a little bit of essentially jimping on the edge of that Kydex. You've got a really positive point of traction to push your thumb off of when you go to draw that knife. But like I said, for some of you folks out there that might be looking for just one fixed blade to have, this really wouldn't be a bad option. It's a great size, great variety of uses, like I said, and man, especially if we saw like a 7 or 8 inch version of this, I could really see this pillar kind of taking the crown and running with it from those seal buoys that SOG currently makes. All right, next up we come to Spyderco, and hands down, my instant choice here is the Street Beat designed by Fred Perrin. Really great little knife. They come in about 115 bucks these days, and the reason this takes the cake is this knife really can do anything that you would want a knife this size to do. It's got a great straight clip point shape, a little bit of concave there actually. Full flat grind, VG10 steel, just the right thickness and just the right shape to cover pretty much any bases. If you just want an EDC fixed blade, great utility shape. If you want to use it for hunting, great shape for that as well. If you want to use it just as a backup camping knife or even as a lightweight hiking knife, this thing has got you covered. If you want to use it as kind of a last-ditch self-defense or a backup tactical knife, this also has you covered. It really does everything. In fact, I'm kind of surprised I don't own one. Maybe that'll change here real soon. Handles are nice and comfortable. This is another knife that has an overmolded handle over top of the tang. And you have a fairly simple shape going on, at least from the profile, but the contours are actually quite sophisticated. It locks into the hand very nicely. Likewise, that extra large finger groove here at the front that keeps you nice and protected. The sheath itself has nice positive retention. Got a J-hook here on the back for a standard belt carry, or potentially inside the waistband carry without having to, take off your belt or your pair of pants to clip it. And there's a lot of fine details on the knife itself, which I haven't had time to go into yet, but also you see that in the sheath as well, and it really kind of encapsulates why this knife is just so perfect. When you go to grab this knife, you don't have to adjust your grip once you pull it from the sheath. You have a full, complete grip, including having your index finger in just the right spot in that finger groove. Grab the handle, pull it out, you're ready to do just about, like I said, anything out there. And last but not least, we come to Tops Knives, and we come to a knife that has a bunch of different names. Officially, this is the Fieldcraft, let me read it out here, the Fieldcraft by the Brothers of Bushcraft. So you see this called a few different things. Certainly the Fieldcraft, sometimes the BOB, or just the Bob. But as the Shakespeare quote goes, a rose by any other name, doesn't matter what you call this knife, it is just plain awesome. Price on the standard versions of these starts at about 150 bucks, but for a little bit less than that, about 20 or so dollars, you can get a more compact version. But this guy right here is the originator. It's what started the legend of this knife. And you've got something that very neatly straddles the two worlds between bushcraft and survival knives out there with just a solid bomb-proof design. Blade length is a little bit over 4.5. You've got about a 5/32 of an inch thick blade and a Scandi Vex grind. So it's somewhere in between a convex, like you saw on that Fallkniven, and a Scandi grind, like you saw on that Mora and on that Condor. Works really well for the bushcrafting things out there, and also is nice and tough with the 1095 steel you get here. Although there is a stainless option available as well with 154 CM. Handles, we've got a full tang construction here with bolt-on scales available on either micarta or G10. One of the kind of defining features though is the bow drill divot, which I'm not sure if anyone else did this first on a production knife, but it's where I was kind of introduced to it when this knife first came out, that particular concept. Really nice. It basically acts as a bearing block for the bow drill spindle if you're making a friction fire. I will say though, make sure you put the sheath on if you're gonna do that. The sheath we do have here is Kydex. Comes with a rotating clip here on the back and a nice fire starter here included right on the front of this one too. And another nice little feature, a lot of bushcraft knives will have a bit of a sharpened spine here on the back so you can strike a fire steel. You don't get that with this particular bob, but you do have what they call the Shango notch here on the protruding tang at the back. Gives you a nice section right there for striking that fire steel. But I don't really have much more to say about this Fieldcraft knife other than you probably ought to buy one. I think they're pretty awesome. And that is about it for our list of the best fixed blade from every brand, or these 15 brands anyway. Let me know what you think of my picks down there in the comments, and leave your own picks for these brands or even some other brands out there down there also. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, we'll leave links in the description. That'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. Make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to spend your money on one of these knives, might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.